time is now 5:54 p.m. We're going to call this meeting, the Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I'm going to ask for the roll call of all council members in attendance.
Alderperson Shirley Drewinski.
Present.
Alderperson Colby Chapman.
Present.
Alderperson Talani Smith.
Present.
Alderperson Tracy Keith.
Here.
Alderperson Randall.
Here.
Alderperson Rogers.
Present. Okay, thank you very much.
And Mayor Clark.
Thank you all for being here. Unfortunately, the mayor will not be able to attend tonight. And in situations such as this, we ask council to elect a member to chair the meeting. With that being said, I'll ask for a motion.
Motion to elect Michael Ellis to chair the meeting.
Motion made by the third, second by the sixth. Call the roll call. Motion by the third, second by the sixth.
Please say aye or nay after I call your name. Alderperson Shirley Drewinski.
Aye.
Alderperson Chapman.
Aye.
Alderperson Talani Smith.
Aye. Aye.
Alderperson Keith.
Aye.
Alderperson Randall.
Aye.
Alderperson Rogers.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask any volunteers to do invocation of pledge of allegiance. Pete, would you please?
Yes. We bow our heads in prayer. Gracious Lord, Heavenly Father, we petition your throne of grace today, Lord Jesus. We're thanking you, Lord, for bringing this city council meeting back to the city of Harvey. We're thanking you, Lord, for a brand new year. We're thanking you for prosperity and health. Lord Jesus, we asking you, Lord, to watch over this meeting, guide every heart, every mind, and every tongue, Lord Jesus, so we can better take care of the business of this great city. Lord Jesus, this is our prayer, and we ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. As we move into item 4 on the agenda, I'm going to ask the council for a motion to amend the agenda, allowing 4C to become 4A. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
I missed the person who made the motion. Motion by the second. I'm sorry. Yes, motion by the second and second by the third. Yes, see that. Motion by the second, and second by the third.
Alderperson Drewinski.
Yes.
Alderperson Chapman.
Yes.
Alderperson Smith.
Yes.
Alderperson Keith.
Yes.
Alderperson Randall.
Yes.
Alderperson Rogers?
Yes.
Thank you all very much. With that being said, let's start the presentation of the audit for 2022. Please take the mic and introduce yourself. Tell them a little bit about yourself and your company.
Hello. So for those who don't know me, my name is Kyle Casper. I'm an audit manager at John Casper Company. In addition, I have my colleague, fellow JKC audit manager Stephen Shield, present, and we're the auditors for the city's year-end, April 30th, 2022. So you may recall seeing me back when we presented the FY21 audit, as this is now the second year of our firm presenting the FY audit for the city. So I'll be going through is the audit of the city of Harvey as well as the Harvey Police Pension Fund, both of which we are engaged in performance services for the year end, April 30th, 2022. I'd like to start off by thanking members of the City Council, City Management, and the rest of the city staff. They all worked very hard filling our requests, and we appreciate everyone that was involved. So before I get into presenting the city's annual financial report for the year ending April 30th, 2022, if possible, please hold from asking any questions until the conclusion of the presentation. All right, so City Council, you should have the bond report in front of you. After flipping through the cover page, you will see the report's table of contents, followed with a listing of principal officials of the city. Page 2 starts your financial section of the report, where you'll find your auditor's opinions. The opinion tells readers how reliable financial statements are and whether they present the entity's financial condition fairly. As a general overview, there are 4 types of opinions, ranging from the most favorable being unmodified to the least favorable being adverse. I'll briefly explain each of the 4 opinion types as it relates to the section of the report labeled Summary of Opinions, again, on page 2 of your annual financial report. An unmodified opinion means that the auditor found no material misstatements in the financial statements. The financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. During FY22, we issued an unmodified opinion on the Debt Service Fund, Capital Projects Fund, TIF 1, and TIF 2 funds. A qualified opinion means that the auditor has found certain issues or limitations in the financial statements, but believes the overall financial statements are still a fair representation, except for those specific issues. During FY22, we issued a qualified opinion on the Motor Fuel Tax Fund and aggregate remaining fund information, which includes the Police Pension Fund. Third, a disclaimer of opinion means that the auditor cannot express an opinion on the financial statements. Disclaimers often involve a combination of significant issues, such as scope limitations, lack of sufficient evidence, and uncertainty. During FY22, we issued a disclaimer of opinions on the governmental activities, the business type activities, general fund, and the water fund. The 4th and least favorable opinion would be an adverse opinion, which means that the auditor has found material misstatements in the financial statements to the point that they do not present fairly the entity's financial position. This opinion type was not present during the FY22 audit due to the fact that all material misstatements identified were proposed to management and would be subsequently posted to the city's books as adjusting journal entries. So that's a little background on the 4 different types of opinion. I wanted to go through those because when you see your report, you're reading through it, it's good to break those down. And again, this is for the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2022, and we're engaged to report. Moving through the report, page 3 is where we further explain the specific matters that led to qualified and disclaimer opinions. The bottom of pages 3 and 4 discuss the responsibilities of management as well as responsibilities to the auditors, which means that, followed with pages 5 and 6, which discuss the required supplementary information, also known as RSI, supplementary information, also known as SI, and other information, which is found in the table of contents, and these 3 sections will be identified throughout the course of the presentation. Moving through the auditor's opinion, pages 7 through 15 consist of management's discussion and analysis, also known as the MD&A. The MD&A is unaudited, but it provides a narrative overview of financial statements, including comparisons to that of the prior year. The MD&A also helps readers understand key trends, significant changes, and management's perspective on the city's financial position and operations. Following the MD&A starts the basic financial statements. Pages 16 through 18 consist of the government-wide financial statements, which provides a comprehensive overview of the city's financial position and operations. These statements combine information from all the city's funds and presents in a single entity, which including both capital assets and long-term debt obligations. Together, these statements offer a clear, consolidated picture of the city's financial condition and how its resources are being managed over time. I will point out that on page 18, the city's net position has improved approximately $6.5 million during the fiscal year audit. Pages 19 through 24 present the governmental fund financial statements of the balance sheet, income statement, and reconciliations for arriving to the previously mentioned government-wide financial statements. The individual major funds are presented here. You will also see a column for the non-major governmental funds, which are smaller other governmental funds, and you will see that detail as we progress throughout the report. I would like to draw your attention to pages 22 and 23. This consists of your revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for all governmental funds. During FY22, the city's revenue exceeded expenditures by approximately $2 million, thus lowering the cumulative governmental fund balance deficit of approximately $35.5 million to $33.5 million. A significant improvement compared to FY21, which had a net change in fund balance of approximately $55,000 for governmental funds. Pages 25 through 28, this presents the proprietary fund financial statements, consisting of the balance sheet, income statement, and statement of cash flows. The water fund is presented as the sole major fund, with the non-major enterprise funds consisting of the sewer fund, commuter parking fund, and Pace Bus terminal parking fund. Here, I would like to draw your attention to page 27, which consists of your operating revenues, operating as well as non-operating expenses of all proprietary funds. During FY22, the city's revenues exceeded expenses by approximately $860,000, thus improving the cumulative net position of approximately to just over $6 million. Again, another significant improvement compared to FY21. In that case, in FY21, there was a net change in fund balance of approximately, it's actually a net reduction in fund balance of approximately $600,000. So if we look at those 2 years and 2 years span, the proprietary funds had a cumulative change in net position of $1.5 million positive. So you have to look at the upside side. I know the financial picture, you look at the grand scheme, may not look as ideal, but these are highlights of the fiscal year audit, so I wanted to point those out. Because as we're going through everything, there's a lot of upsides to look at, despite being FY22 and catching up periodically over the course of this year. Okay, moving through the rest of the final part of the basic financial statements as it relates to the financials. Pages 29 and 30 present both the city's pension trust funds. So we were engaged to audit the city's police pension fund, and there were different auditors engaged to audit the city's firefighter pension fund. The detail of the police and fire pension funds are then broken out on pages 118 and 119 of the report. So as we get through, you'll see those, but I wanted to say that includes both of the police and fire pension funds on pages 29 and 30. 29 being the balance sheet, and 30 being the income statement. Now, the next part of the report, pages 31 through 72, this consists of your notes to the financial statements. The note provides essential details and explanations that support the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. They offer context about the city's accounting policies, significant transactions, and compliance with laws and regulations, while helping readers gain a clearer understanding of the city's overall financial picture. I will not go through that section of the report in detail, but after reading, if there are any questions, feel free to reach out to me for clarity. Again, a lot of this language carries over from the prior year. It's required disclosure information, but feel free to reach out for any questions as they arise over time. Page 73, this starts to require supplementary information, again also known as RSI, for the pension funds, and concludes on page 84. These are additional required schedules for reporting changes in pension liabilities and related ratios, employer contributions, and investment returns. Pages 85 through 86 are the budget to actual reports for the city's general fund and major special revenue fund, motor fuel tax. Followed with notes to RSI on page 87, which discloses the budgetary procedures of the city. The next section of the report starts with supplementary information, and this is the most detailed section of the report. It begins with the governmental funds on page 88, and concludes with the enterprise funds on page 117. So again, as I mentioned, this is the most detailed section of the report. This is where we account for each line of city budgets. Where we start with showing the budget, it would be original and final because there were no amended budgets during fiscal year 22. Followed with the actual for the current year audited. Actual again being April 30th, 2022. The variance, so is the budget over or under? You'll see that that's the third column on the page. And then the fourth column are the prior year audited financials for comparative purposes. Again, we audited the fiscal year 21, so yet both years. I know it's still a couple of years back, so timely financials is key, but I want to point those out because as we gradually catch up, and you could use that as budgetary purposes down the road on seeing where line adjustments can be made in the future. Right. Page 118 and 119, this consists of the police and firefighter pension trust funds. Page 118 is your net position, also known as the balance sheet. Followed by page 119, which is the related changes in activities. So additions, subtractions to arrive at your ending net position. The last section of supplementary information consists of the city's consolidated year-end financial report, as required by the Illinois Grant Accountability and Transparency Act. I will point out that the city was not subject to a single audit in fiscal year 22 because federal expenditures did not exceed $750,000. If the city was subject to a single audit, there would be a separate standalone report referred to as a uniform guidance report, which the city did have in fiscal year 21. Pages 121 to 125, which concludes the annual financial report, under the section labeled Other Information. And this discloses the city's long-term debt requirements for outstanding bonded debt issuances as of April 30th, 2022. So, before I get any questions, I want to point out that in terms of the annual compliance filings, the city's FY22 annual financial report has been electronically filed with the State Comptroller's Office on the website. Other services that we were engaged to perform for the city during FY22 consisted of preparing TIC compliance reports. There were 8 in total, and those were emailed to Administrator Ms. Green Davis for submitting to the state as well. And then lastly, submitting the city's annual debt disclosures to Cook County. And I communicated with Lewis on getting those, getting the account set up. The last debt disclosures were by several years back, so a new username had to be created, and the time frame is, so for clarity, the county debt disclosure ordinance requires taxing districts to submit financial statements to the county treasurer within 30 days of the publication of the most recent audited financials. The most recent audited financials were published on December 31st, 2025. And then the due date for the FY22 debt disclosures, therefore, is January 30th, 2026. So I'll work with Lewis on getting those uploaded. Those have already been prepared, and we're just doing our best to get the city caught up and looking ahead to the future. So that's all Questions?
It was my understanding that due to prior obligation that you wouldn't be able to take questions. That's why we made a motion to move you into the front. Are you still able to, or Mr. Williams can do so?
There were a couple of questions I gave you, right?
Yes.
If you want to.
With regard to you, I can answer them.
Okay, that's good then.
I had requested that any questions you have, so we would be fumbling through information, be submitted in writing, and Alderman Chapman did submit a couple of questions that Kyle can address. So,
I will do my best. Okay. So, referring to the section labeled 2022 audit, correct, Lewis?
yes.
Okay. Question 1 stated, why does the FY22 audit state that management cannot provide support for any debit card transactions, despite this being flagged in the FY21 audit? So there was support provided. It's not that none were, and I can tell you in 22 there was a significant improvement, but there still was missing information in our sample, and there's missing that really was unable to be provided. Some of it could be due to timeliness, we're looking back 4 years, but I can tell you part of our sample, we just randomly pull a selection. If the selection is not provided, we'll ask a couple of requests, but I mean, in terms of context, I mean, yes, it improved, but it still was enough to point out in the audit report. Okay. Question 2. When was a formal payroll and fringe benefit allocation methodology adopted? And why do the auditors report non-existent as of FY22? And Louis, do you want to shed some light on that, on past, just because?
Yeah. You're right. The issue is not the payroll not being allocated, it's fringe benefits. So what happened was, normally, I mean, we get an insurance bill every month from Blue Cross and Dearborn. Normally, Human Resources in reviewing the bill does an allocation by department. That wasn't done. To be honest with you, we didn't want to spend a lot of time doing it because basically it's 12 months of bills going through it. So we just passed on it. It's not that the numbers are not in there. They've all in miscellaneous appropriation. We are working toward being able to trying to find a quick way to allocate those expenditures. But again, they're just too time consuming to go forward. So.
Just to piggyback off of that, so this was back in 2022. Today's date, are we correcting that?
We are trying to work with correcting that. And speaking with your earlier question on the debit card transactions.
Right.
I can tell you what happened in 22, even though I was kind of in and out of part-time. The controller's office moved from upstairs to downstairs. The stuff should have been properly scanned into the system, which is the process we go through now, as a matter of fact. And to give you some idea, this isn't some grand amount of money. We fund that debit card account to the tune of about $2,000 a month. Some months it was heavier at Christmas or doing the breaks and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, stuff just wasn't scanned into the system. Because we don't maintain any paper copies of invoices. The accounting system allows us to scan those bills in. That way you can come ask me for a copy of an invoice. As a matter of fact, auditors were given access to the system, whereas they began testing for documentation on the bills, they able to go directly into the accounting system. And they're not waiting through file cabinets like we used to in the good old days, or bad old days of our.
That makes sense because it's on a backtrack, and now we're in the still process of working progress.
Use your mic so folks hear what you're asking.
I was just saying, this was in 2022, so it's still work in progress, but each year we should improve on that. Thank you.
We're trying to be completely paperless.
Question number 3, right here. Yes. Why did the city move from qualified opinions in FY21 to disclaimer of opinions in FY22 on its core funds? Well, I can explain that FY21 was our first year under audit, so part of our procedures is we'll review the predecessor work papers, make inquiries, and as we had more of a comparative picture on everything, our expectations were set. When we weren't met, and we determined it being material. That essentially was our benchmark. So yes, there may have been some more detailed testing, but it also, Stephen also helped with that, evaluating various items from contingent liabilities to amounts owed to other funds. When you look at the grand scheme, is it material? Do they materially state the financials? Well, they could, and that's where we had to heighten up the auditor's opinion, because, again, we're opining, and we can't just, this is 2022, not everything's going to be the same. So our auditor procedures took us that direction. We don't know if it'll happen in 23, maybe it'll improve in 23. That's the best response I can give that. Okay.
So a little more context on the opinions. Kyle went through and explained unmodified, qualified, disclaimer. Qualified opinion says the financial statements are ready presented in all material respects except for some issue. If our except for list gets too long, we end up with a disclaimer because we don't have enough to express an opinion on. So that's why we went from that qualification only in the prior year to disclaimer this year, because there were more issues identified when we weren't able to be provided support for certain account balances. Any questions?
Yes. Yeah. As you mentioned, disclaimer identifies that the auditor could not obtain sufficient evidence, correct?
Yes, we cannot obtain sufficient evidence to support an opinion.
So here, under the government activities, business type activities, general fund, and water fund, these are 4 core operating specifics that keep the city afloat. So I guess my question is, because today we're approving a budget for 25 and 26, what documented proof exists today that the financial control issues cited in the audit have actually been corrected? And I just want to go back. In 2021, we made a promise, according to the audit, that we were going to have a written internal control narrative, that we were going to have regular control execution, and strengthen financial reporting controls. So in your research, have you seen those things heightened or increased? Since we have 4 disclaimers on 4 core operating funds.
I'll generally let Kyle and Lewis speak to
Excuse me, will you speak up?
I'll try, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So as far as internal control narratives go, yes, we were able to obtain those, perform our walkthroughs, and be satisfied with the internal controls, except for the matters that were reported in the management letter. We did have 2 internal control weaknesses. One dealt with the material adjustments that were proposed in connection with the audit, and the other dealt with a lack of sufficient evidence in certain areas. So as far as the internal control processes go, we didn't have specific weaknesses in internal control when it came to processing of payables, processing of payroll, recording receipts, the generic significant transaction cycles for the city. But for certain areas we were doing our test work, we weren't provided sufficient information to support our opinion. And part of the struggle there is the time frame that we're looking at. So when the 21 audit took place, there's only maybe so much that can be done from then to 22, given that it's so far behind. So that's the situation we saw when we did our audit. Expectation will be that going forward to 23, 24, 25, we will continue to see improvements in those years as we get more current, because it's a lot easier to go back 1 year and say, let's fix what happened these past 12 months than it is to go back 4 years and try and remedy an older situation. Anything else to add there, Lewis or Kyle?
So I think that the point you make, let's be clear, this is not a matter of we're paying bills without documentation. The problem is when you get, and this is a problem where we desperately need to be where we were 6 years ago. And that is audit done as quickly as possible, because what happens when you're 25 when you start asking for documents beyond just, do you have proof that these bills are paid. So they wouldn't say if they looked at a Blue Cross Blue Shield or any bill on a material amount, there wasn't documentation. It's just when you get to some of the more specific documentation, sometimes after 4 years it gets misplaced.
If I may ask, because the spirit are our auditors, so you all can only audit what you're providing, correct? What are we doing internally, Comptroller Williams, to ensure that moving forward, moving into the 2023 audit, that we can maybe hold to some of the promises?
So we're constantly requesting documentation from the departments, making sure we're scanning it in. Another thing they just claimed on again was compensated absences. That's a matter of human resources has to provide us with that. And again, like we talk about the allocation of fringe benefits. These are things that quote unquote the finance department gets dinged on, but you rely on other departments, and you also rely on the flow of information from all the various parts of the city. And what we're trying to do just is the board packages are sent out electronically, so you can always come back and pull them electronically. It's that those type of things that enable us to have documentation.
Give me one second here. I'm going to ask that council, please, let's keep our questions to the auditors so that we can make sure that the public and ourselves are fully understanding this audit. The operational questions, we can ask that anytime. I want to make sure that everybody has a great understanding, a thorough understanding of what our auditors have performed and what they're saying in relation to our finances. With all due respect, I know that we want to make sure that we're using this information that you're providing to make us better financially. That's one set of another category of questions that you can't even answer, okay? Because you're not in charge of running the city. So the questions that I want to make sure that we're getting to him is anything that will help us better understand the audit. Because if we get those questions and he's answering those questions, not only we get it, but the public's getting a better view of what's going on financially with the city.
We had a copy.
Yes, recognize first.
My experience with auditors. So if you have,
Use your mic, please.
I'm sorry, my voice projects. My experience with auditors, if you're sitting there looking and you go to the comptroller and you say, okay, I need 10 selection, and you're picking the selection, the auditor has to go back and give you that data. Now, if that data is missing, he cannot turn around and say, oh, we got this to compensate. You just are randomly checking about 10% of each category, correct?
Yeah, it's ultimately to get reasonable assurance.
Right.
If you can't get that reasonable assurance, that's where you go down the other paths.
Go down the other thing. So this is like a percentage of where we're at, but it's not a truly 100% accurate of everything. Am I correct?
Correct. And that's why I pointed out the opinion, the general fund and the water fund, just to let you know. If the general fund's disclaimed, governmental activities would be disclaimed too, because it falls under that. Likewise, if the water fund's disclaimed, so would the proprietary funds. So those are the two that we're holding on. I know those are the two biggest, but again, those are the ones with the most risk and exposure.
For those that
I'll make you one point. The audit here is posted to the city's website.
yes, that's what I was about to say. And you're welcome, if you have your phone, you can go right here. Actually, Willie's showing you. You can go right there, right now, on your phone, and you can follow along with us as well. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that in the beginning, as we were going through the pages, but you're more than welcome to do that now, if you would like to. If you all have additional questions that maybe we're not getting to right now, please reach out to your audit person, let them have those questions, and let them get those answers back to you. Is there any other questions? Recognize Alvin.
Thank you. I just want to ask just a couple of questions. So during this audit time, all the persons were asked to submit a questionnaire on any issues and any concerns. How was that actually addressed, and was it helpful?
Yes, it helps when you respond. Completeness too. completing all the responses, what we do is we then evaluate, we compare to our testing, and then we may have to test more. We may have to look at areas we weren't aware of. Some of the responses were subsequent to the fiscal year, after April 30th, 2022, but still, it's not that we would just ignore it, we would still document it and make a note, hey, we're going to audit, this is FY24 item to be aware of, assuming we're engaged. That's what we'll look at. So they are helpful, they do help us evaluate risk, and they're also required, which is why we often send second, sometimes third, fourth requests, because that's our key audit evidence. If we don't have those, then we're basically just driving by.
Okay, just one more question. When it comes to the general fund, how are y'all able to evaluate that to see exactly how the money is being spent and allocated? Because just saying, for example, alderman expenses is supposed to be submitted in, and what turn the money goes to the street department, or how is it broken down? And you never really, once money goes into the general fund, you never really have a breakdown of where it goes and what exactly is being spent, or even an asterisk on the side. Well, this percentage of money was, well, I want to say taken or placed or whatever from such and such alderman. Situations like that. But how do you really be able to determine how the money is being spent
Ultimately,
when you're doing an audit?
Yeah, a big difference. So you can have a forensic audit where they'll audit 100% and they'll look at all those. Those are optional. They cost 6 to 7 digits. They're not cheap. And they may not tell you something you don't already know. But I can tell you for us, for reasonable assurance, we're looking at material transactions. So there's a chance we may not test all the many expenses because we have our scope, we have our materiality. If we feel it's not materially misstated, well, we're more than likely not going to test that unless it comes up in our sample transaction testing. So I can tell you if we're looking at the higher dollar figures, revenue and expense lines, because those are the ones that are more exposure to opinion where it turned out where it was. So that is a valid concern, but for our testing, it's all based on within the planning. And if we don't feel that there's a concern that can purely misstate, well, we may not test that because we're not testing 100% of all transactions. It's physically impossible.
Okay, well, one last question. So moving ahead, the company, the Casper company, will y'all be doing our audits for 22, 23, and so on?
Yes, I appreciate you asking that because it leads into my outro too. So thank you again. I look forward to working with you and your team. We have already provided management with our next audit engagement letter, which will be for the next 3 fiscal years. This will be fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, and 25. So pending our engagement letter acceptance, our team would be in a position to start the 2023 audit as early as next month, and that would be February 2026. Following with rolling right into the subsequent 2 fiscal year audits with intentions to have April 30th, 2025 issued by this time next year. Those are our intentions. It goes both ways. It goes with management, be ready for us. We got to have our team ready. We have to communicate. We have to properly plan. Stephen's helped a lot to put this approach together. But that's ultimately our plan. And if we get there, timely financials aren't that far out. So I can let you know the engagement proposal has been presented. And we just need to hear back if it's approved, and then we can get it on the calendar. And hopefully, again, this time next year, it isn't out of the question after your audit's done that you strategically plan, and city management is willing to work with us and get caught up and put the city of Harvey back on the map. Look out for the citizens and the best interest that they can.
Councilman Harvey, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. With that, sorry, not at this time. No, you can make a question during public comment, sir. And
are you going to still be? You guys going to still be here? Because I'm just wondering how they got you guys here. They said that
sir,
you're available now. You
sir,
3 or 4
sir,
in 1 year.
Sir, I'm gonna ask council to turn your attention to 4, which is now being referred to as 4B, presentation of fiscal year 2025 appropriations ordinance. Mr. Williams?
Yeah, and I just point something out further on all of this. It's we that can lead, because he talked about our.
Yes.
I would strongly encourage people to go to the state's website or the city's website and look at pages 88 to 98. Gives you a very detailed breakdown of what we budgeted for revenues and the revenues that were brought in. I think it will give you far more insight into what's going on. See, it may not be what you want to hear, but it's certainly there for you. I am going to just go through the audit, and we asked the alderman. I'm going to go through the budget very broadly, but also going to address questions.
Would you like me to email them to you?
And I did ask people to submit their questions in writing, and I will address to the best of my ability. Alderman Chapman and Treasurer Pickett submitted questions regarding the budget, and Alderman Chapman's questions were addressed directly by the auditors in terms of everything that's going on here. First place, just to bring out the difference between audits, some of you guys, for instance, one of the questions brought up was the budget deficit that we have projected for the city for fiscal 26. I made this comment many times over the past.
Sorry, Mr. Williams. The budget is available online, once again, for those who want to follow along. Go ahead.
The issue of the overall budget deficit, you really kind of serve in two masters. This report that was presented by the auditors is on an accrual basis. And as it stated, I mean, some people may look at it and say, they just reported that you guys had a combined surplus across all funds of $6 million. Show me the money. And that's part of the issue when you're dealing with accrual versus cash basis statement, because it said basically the city's fund balance improved by $6.5 million over the year, but at the same time I'm projecting out budget deficits for this year. And that's because the budget deficit is more or less done on a cash basis, a modified cash basis. We're accounting for cash that comes in and cash that goes out. As a matter of fact, in the budget, it was brought up by Treasurer Pickett that we had a deficit last year of almost $7 million. Well, that's not quite true. It's true on a cash basis, but it doesn't take into account that a fair amount of that deficit was driven by the 154th Street project, and that revenue actually came in previous years. And so the money doesn't necessarily always match up. But again, as I say many times, the city's deficit is being driven basically by pension liabilities. We paid $8 million into the fire and police pensions last year. And that's covering a judgment that goes back almost 25 years where we finally had to start paying them. We actually had to start paying those deficits out. So it was also asked what we doing to decrease the deficit. Unfortunately, we did have to make substantial layoffs in December to bring that budget more or less in line. The cash-based budget deficit is targeted at about $3.3 million. Again, that's being driven again by the almost $6 million is being paid to the fire pension fund, and there are only so many cuts that you can do. Believe me, when we end the year, it won't be a $6 million budget deficit. I got some questions here we're addressing 24 and 25. Why are federal and state grants negative? Again, it's how the money flows in. We actually get the invoice, the money flows in later. So on an accrual basis, when those things come back on an accrual basis, those won't necessarily, they won't be deficits. Why is such a big increase? This is very big. Under 4,000, why is that such a big increase in 101, 4,000, which I believe is the mayor's department? I'm not sure what the big increase is, but I think it's because we grouped the liquor commission money that the mayor receives in with the budget. On the special event she has there, if some of the expenditures for special events were being offset, they are offset by contributions to the city that people make to support the special events. The other question was on the police department, account 132-5030, what is being purchased. The city has invested almost $1 million in the crime center, and that is to provide, it's using technology to provide better safety for the city, because we necessarily don't have to have the people come in previous years. Fund 2, she said, why is there less revenue projected in the sewer? Revenue, water revenues go down, sewer revenues go down. As you know, your sewer bill is a percentage of your water bill. Fund 52, if the TIF is closed, if there are closeouts in the TIF and there's still numbers that have to be audited, that's why you see we're auditing, we're budgeting audit fees for those. In Fund 80, she wondered why there weren't descriptions under 580, under Fund 80 for the federal, because they're rolling in all the time. We know about what we're going to receive. Like in this fiscal year, we received $1.4 million for street lighting. 1.5 street lights, and I hope people see the street lights. And that was through federal funds. So I know they don't host it, Dixie, and a number of places there. So that's the problem. We don't know specifically, because we're constantly flying for grants to be able to do those special projects. Just in terms of the overall budget, as you look at the budget over the years and on the spreadsheet provided, it all really kind of shows the budget. Each year's budgets are really flat. I know I got a question from Alderman Chapman about the budget. There's a $3.7 million deficit. Like I said, that's being driven by the pensions. End of the fund transfers to subscription of operations, yes, but not really transfers. What happens is part of the street department's operations can be covered by the motor fuel tax fund, and we do an ordinance each year to tell the department of what we're going to actually do with motor fuel money. So it does go to, and the motor fuel fund is where street lights are charged to. That's the charge of salt. It's charged to motor fuel tax fund. And her question is, was given the projected general fund deficit, which salaries and operating expenses increasing in this budget are discretionary for what specific steps is the controller recommending to slow costs. Again, the city is a service business, so most of our costs are personnel. You look at the personnel costs, just the salaries operate the city, the fringe benefits, the pension costs, and things like that. They make up about 80% of the total budget for the city. So cuts were made when people say, why do we pay our people? Unfortunately, that's where the greatest impact is. If you take that and add in the scavenger service, you add in legal, you add in insurance, you got 100% of the budget. Contractual service for the lawyers, I'm contractual, the street department, fire pension fund directly through the controller, bring that cost more in line. It would cause us to have 4 more years to pay them, but it would reduce the burden that we have now of paying those things. If we did that payoff rate under $2 million a year, it basically would put about $3 million more in the city's coffers and get us close to a budget break even, but also allow us to pay bills that are more delinquent than they really should be at this point for the city. So it's a painful budget, but the budget, year to year to year, you line up the budgets, align up the audits for the last 10 years, you find the numbers don't vary very much. Even, I know some of our, even on the audit, if you look at the audit that was just presented on real estate taxes, it looks like I went off the budget line by $3 million on real estate taxes that we collected. And that's explainable because what happens is the Center Street TIF expired. The portion of the Center Street TIF taxes that were coming to the city actually came to the city and didn't go into the TIF. So most of this stuff is pretty straightforward. We've had some budget hits. If you look at the budgets, the other thing when we talk about the budgets is remember what the city's primary responsibility is. That's public safety. That's fire and police. They love to take up the bulk of the budget. Again, it's human resource costs. And like I said, it just gets kind of thrown off track by the pension payments. But that's where the majority of the money goes, is in public safety. They have the same largest budget. And if you look at their budget versus the rest of the city, police and fire budget together is more than the rest of the city. So I don't like deficits, but again, on a cash basis, this is a deficit. I think when all the grant revenue comes in, then we do the things that we normally capitalize, like when I budget $500,000 for police department expenditures, that's for cash purposes. I want to show that because it's a cash outlay. When you see the audit, the budget is automatically going to be reduced by that $500,000. Last year's budget at 7.7, like I said, it's $2 million in street improvements that were made that will be capitalized. There was a $700,000 fire truck that would be capitalized. So all those things come together to bring that budget. Again, we've been the city, like I said, if we look at the budgets in the audits over the past 6 years, the city has really surpluses when you take the items and make them our capital expenditures. And if you just want to look at the numbers and say what's driving the budget, if you add the fire and police pension funds back in, you'll see that the city's really not operating that bad. The deficits aren't as bad as they appear. It does cause cash flow issues. But also, it's a good part of that, like the police pension fund. We're looking at the 22 audit, obviously about in fiscal 26. The police pension fund went from being funded 46% in 2018 to based on the actuarial report this year. The pension fund is funded 78%, which is in the top 10% of the entire state in terms of local pension funds. So we're suffering through a little pain now, but long term we gain in a certain city. Also in terms of the audit, you see all the 2000 ABC bonds, which were a refinance of the 1990 bonds, all those bonds were paid off as of January 24, 207, 207B. We do not have any bonds that are in default right now in the city.
That's your question.
Sure.
My first question that you answered, I just want to reiterate so that the public can hear. My question was, the general fund shows $29.69 million in estimated revenues and $33.43 million in appropriations, creating a $3.7 million deficit. You spoke earlier and mentioned that we're in discussion with the state comptroller.
Police pension fund, because if you look
But monitored by the comptroller, correct? The state comptroller.
like
Is that monitored by the state comptroller?
No, the control is just the one that's state control that disperses all state funds. So what the state is doing is the one that's paying by court agreement, it's paying the pension funds $4 million. Our hope was to get the pension fund to extend the time period over which we were paying and to reduce that annual outlay to about $1.8 billion.
So then this $3.74 million shortfall, we're over. Is this the discussion to decrease this amount? So that's a plus. We want to reiterate that.
If you look up in the report, you'll see that being driven by what we budgeted for the fire pension fund, which is $6 million. So if we were just paying, I don't want to get technical, talking about normal pension costs versus other pension costs, but obviously if we were paying at least fire pension fund $6 million, we had a $3 million surplus.
I have one more question for you, Mr. Williams. How much did our audit cost? The audit that was, I'm assuming that it would be the same cost in 22, that it would be in 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to, I didn't see that identified in the budget.
The audit this year, the audit cost us $110,000.
Is that what you would say it's going to be annually? I didn't see that reflected in the budget.
Within that, right, it's reflected on the audit and accounting service.
So between now and till 25, 26, we're looking at over about $500,000 on audits. One team.
About 375.
Okay.
Which is, again, that's a little higher than we were paying 10 years ago. But again, one of the reasons I stated before about the issues behind the audit is the number of firms that are actually performing all the services now. And that's not a Harvey thing. That's across the state that, the fees went up.
Chair recognizes the sixth ward.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, my main concern is there were employees that were furloughed in the month of December. Is there any money in our fiscal year budget to reflect that we'll have enough revenue to bring these employees back to work, especially the War Department?
I wish I could make that commitment, but I can't.
You can't.
Because even now, understand even now, the city has not remitted, the county has not remitted all the taxes we receive on the second installment. Again, we're hoping and praying that it's pretty hard to botch up the first tax bill because it's not 55% of the prior year's tax bill, so it's contingent on a lot of things. Believe me, it's very painful to lay off employees. The problem is, again, in terms of laying off employees, what it comes back to is you got to pay those employees every 2 years.
There's another part to this question. You mentioned the fireman's pension. And I do understand that we're paying the interest rates, we're paying for penalizations, and we're paying fines because we were overdue. Are you doing the actual negotiations with the fireman's pension? And how is that negotiation going? Because $3.5 million would help us if we were able to reduce that interest rate. Do I stand correct?
Our hope is to reduce the interest rate from the statutory rate of 6% and stretch out the payments. But again, we agreed to it. Because under duress, the state of Illinois, the House and the Senate, the governor signed the laws that said that if you get behind the pension payments, that they can get a controller's offset.
We were under court order at that particular time.
Exactly. That's what we're doing.
When did we go under, I'm sorry, when did we go under court order?
That court order goes back to
2014, I think.
2017 is when the actual order was in place. The length of the intervention goes back to 1995.
If there's no other questions, I'll ask council to turn your attention to what is now going to be 4C, the presentation of the 2025 levy ordinance, which once again is available online.
The great thing I can tell you about the tax ordinance city of Harvey has not raised taxes over 10 years. So now that doesn't mean the tax bill won't go up.
Okay, all right.
The city of Harvey's portion of the tax bill, you can pull them up, you can come on site. The only thing that varies in that budget is how much we have to get pensions, the amount we've had to pay the police pension fund, because this better funded has gone down. We shift that money back into general government. So that levy is exactly what was presented in terms of dollar amounts. If I change around this and numbers, it would be the same levy that you looked at.
About $1,000.
It's the same levy you looked at for the past 7.
4.9.
No, that's not. The total levy is 15. That does not include.
Yeah, I'm talking about the percentage. You're talking about the dollar rate.
Right, but that doesn't increase debt service.
I know.
So
Keeping it at the same way.
Tax levy ordinances are on the city's website.
So the city is not raising their
The
portion.
city has not raised taxes. I have raised taxes since I began doing the levies 11 years ago.
Mr. Williams, you hinted to this, so just so we're clear and public clearly understand, for our homeowners, when you get your tax bill, you see there are multiple taxing bodies. What we're simply saying to you is that where it says City of Harvey, we have not and will not raise taxes. It has nothing to do with Thornton Township, the kind of mosquito abatement, School District 147, School District 152, South Suburban College. They all could easily raise it, and they can raise their percentage they're requesting, and therefore now you're paying more in taxes. However, we do not control those bodies. What we're telling you is, as far as this body is concerned, we will not raise the portion that we control. That tax rate will stay the same as it has in the last 10 years. So please be very clear when you're looking at your tax bill. If you see that you're paying more, what I would suggest is get your last year's tax bill and see who went up. Okay? Because it won't be the City of Harvey. But it may be the school district. It may be Thornton Township. It may be South Suburban College. But it won't be us.
All the like to say one other thing. Remember, we do not control assessed values.
I'm sorry, what?
We do not control. So your tax bill could go up because your assessed values went up. But that's all done by the county. The city has nothing to do with the assessed valuations.
Is there any questions for council?
Yes.
Yes.
For the comptroller.
Would you like to, I sent you questions regarding the tax levy as well. On December 12th, and then again, when you requested, but just going back to compliance, statutory compliance. Pursuant to 35 ILCS 200/1815, the city's 2025 tax levy must be adopted and filed by December 30th, 2025, and it would have had to be posted for the public by Wednesday, December 10th. So today, how are we moving forward without providing the public the 20-day notice?
It can be published for 20 days.
Had it been published, Mr. Williams?
It's done on the city's website.
Is it reflected, it was here? Was it posted on the door of City Hall?
It was available for inspection.
What date was that? But it was before
Run
Wednesday.
starts now. The run starts now. It is what it is. I mean, we don't have to do public hearings if we're not raising the taxes.
But as far as the notice, according to, this is just what I pulled off the Illinois State statute pursuant to 35 ILCS 200/18-15. It says that the public must be made aware. As a matter of fact, you know who I pulled it from? Cascara. They actually sent an email about it. Go ahead.
Not taking 20 days. She can take 20 days after today.
It takes, so 20 days as of today.
Yeah, she can start today.
Who is she?
I said we can post it today.
So, but we're looking to actually vote on it in the next council meeting in 1 minute. So I just want to make sure that we're following statutory compliance and abiding by the state of Illinois, the rules, before we go and vote this evening. And that the public generally has had their 20-day compliance. Because we don't want anyone coming back to say what we did not do or what we failed to do.
I thought we had posted this prior.
Do you know the date, Ms. Davis? We don't have any official clarity, so that's, I just want to make sure that we're on point like a pencil before we move forward.
Woman,
Yes,
I think we pretty much answered your question. at
he was
this
going to
point.
answer, but if he would like so, you
And-
can add.
I would say is if anybody who has a complaint in regard to that compliance are free to file complaints at the state's attorney's office, and we can move forward with that.
Thank you for your rebuttal.
With that being said,
She did have one other question.
oh, did she?
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
I didn't know that. I didn't see the question.
It notes that, the levy says we'll receive 8 million. The total
Yes,
is $19 million,
right.
and 8 million from the levy. The 11 million comes from our state funds and all these other fees and things that we collect throughout the year.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
If there's no more questions, we're going to move on to public comment. We only have two. Please excuse me. We'll just go, I can't pronounce it, so Ryan will go first, followed by Michael. I'm not saying your last name only because I really can't read it. So, Ryan, if you want to come up, and we'll follow that with Michael. Each participant will get 3 minutes. I ask that you would please be respectful of your time, be respectful of yourself and others in your comments. There's no reason to be disrespectful, have any name calling whatsoever. Council is encouraged not to respond. So if you do have questions, once again, follow up with your alderperson to get those questions answered. They will not respond to you at this moment. Are you put it up? Okay. Hold on. I want to make sure you get your time. Wait till it comes up for me, please.
Is this on? Can you hear me?
It's on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
I don't know. I want to make sure you heard when I say wait till she get the clock up before we start.
Yeah, no problem.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't see anything.
It's a little small one up there. Go ahead. You can see it.
Oh, it's very
We're going to restart.
I just had a few questions. So I didn't, like some of the other residents were saying, I didn't know any of whether the levy or the audit information was on the city website. But I guess during the meeting, somebody from the city gave somebody else. Anyway, I ended up just pulling it up. So I had some concerns because I was pulling it up while you guys were talking. And again, if we could please make this stuff available in advance, like Ms. Chapman said, it does have to be, we need 20 days to evaluate whether we want our taxes to go up, because usually most boards will increase taxes every year. But as part of the audit, it said, I was concerned, it said, because of the, let's see, because Farrick was talking, we have not been able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence to provide a basis for opinions on the financial statements of the governmental activities, business type activities, general fund, and water fund. So that's a lot of the money that the city spends, so that's very concerning, I think. I think everybody should be concerned, because if they haven't been able to get evidence from the city to, tell us about that, then that's a lot of missing information. Also, in their report, it said the city has accumulated unassigned deficit fund balance. Okay, blah, blah, blah. The city has borrowed extensively from other funds without an apparent means of repayment. Additionally, the city has defaulted on several bond payments and has experienced ongoing difficulties in meeting its financial obligations. the situation raises significant liquidity risks. So I'm not quite sure why that wasn't emphasized, because that's in there, that's on the first page of the report. Again, that's very concerning. We need to address that. But yeah, the biggest one that I saw was just how they said they didn't get any audit evidence related to financial statements for governmental activity. What's not, it's a city council. Like, everything you do is a government activity. So business type activities, okay, the city deals with a lot of businesses. General fund and water fund, like, what's going on with our water fund? I mean, that's really concerning. And then my other question is related to that. So what do we pay Cascara for? What do we pay, however much, 100,000, whatever, of our money, if they're saying, well, there's all this information we didn't get from the city. And then if you go on and read the report as well, it said, well, we can't judge whether things are accurate or not, we just judge whatever the city gives to us. So that was my main concern.
Thank you.
Can everybody hear me? First of all, I want to thank everybody for, this is my first council meeting. I want to wish everybody that they had a great holiday session. Okay. Everybody in the room, the councilman and everything else, and thank you for letting me speak on this. I'm sidestepping the budget a little bit here. Over in 6th Ward, Mr. Rogers' ward will be getting cameras put up on Calumet Boulevard, on Jefferson, on Des Plaines, and the question that I have in mind for the security factor of it all is, how soon until they are active, how many will be placed up, where are they going to be placed up, only in hot spots, or are they going to be in more areas than just the hard-hit areas of the neighborhood? What else? Because after Christmas, my vehicle was broken into, and there was no camera to be found except for our neighbors across the street. We only got to see the butt end of that. And then I would also like to advise this council, as we have Channel 7 here in the building, whatever comes out of this council comes across, in such a way that if you say our police department is shortened and our fire department is shortened, and you let that information be out too much, the wrong people will come to our town and do whatever they want to do. Set fires, pull all kinds of racetrack moves over on 159th and Park Avenue and make a spectacle out of themselves. So it all's coming down to safety. And the other part to the safety thing is too, I didn't mention this, but I'm also a block captain with CJC and his mom and whatnot, that also the Metro project is not completed. The south side of the viaduct is dark, the fence is down, and what I was told was it was a three-way split for who owns that part of the railway.
You still have 30 seconds.
Okay, all right. So Metro owns the north half, CNL Canadian National owns the bottom half, and IGOT owns the rest of it. It still has work that needs to be done to it. The south side is not lit. The south side has a fence that's laying on there. When the snow and everything comes, we're in trouble.
Thank you, sir. Can you pronounce your last name for me?
Cronin.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. I think if you just stay in contact with your 6th Ward Alderman, most of the questions that you have we'll
talk all the time.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
He better get you those answers. With that being said, there is no more public comment. I thank everyone who came out today and took part of this public hearing, who took time out to share your thoughts and concerns, be here public comment. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by the first, second by, I broke your at the same time. 6. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Having none, the ayes have it.